Welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm delighted to have Jack Whiting with us, who is the founder of Into Legends FC. Jack, how you doing, mate? Welcome.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here. How are you? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I came across you on social media and the things you're doing with Into Legends. Let's start there. What is Into Legends? How did it start? What was the whole thinking behind the club?
To be honest, I'll tell a lie if I said that I woke up one day and wanted to do this. You know, I never, it sort of fell into my lap. Quite strange. The story, I think it's quite public now because everyone asks the story, and I always tell it because it is a good story and everything that happened was completely true. So I was actually doing my dishwasher one day, and previously to this, I used to have a festival accessory brand. So the story behind that was my dad used to have arthritis in his shoulders, and we used to go to a beer festival every single year. And this one time he went to a beer festival, he just had his injections on the Thursday, and I think the beer festival was on the Saturday, and he couldn't hold his pint glass, and you know he was a little bit drunk, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not coming anymore," blah blah blah. And I said, "I'm going to make a product that's going to solve that issue." So I created like you see people with lanyards that have their phones attached to them. I saw someone with one of them, and I said, "Well, why don't we create something like that can hold a pint glass or like a plastic cup or whatever?" Started to knock up a few like designs and start getting a couple made, and when I started to look at them, loads of festivals were contacting me saying like, "Oh, this is great. This helps with like landfill." You know, you see that picture of Glastonbury every year where like cups they all end up on the floor and stuff. And they were like, "This is brilliant because it's novelty, but people will actually keep their cups and reuse them." So it grew really quickly. First year turned over 250k. Second year, I was close to doing 500,000, and then the third year, Alibaba, Temu, all them sort of like knockoff sites started copying it and selling it. Yeah, and started copying it for like, I don't know, like 5p or 50p or whatever, and I was knocking them out for a fiver. And my business just fell flat on its legs. But at the time, I was at a time where I was like, I could see it coming, and I thought I'm going to have to pivot into something else. So I started to play around with the idea of that business and what it could go into. And I was doing my dishwasher one day at home, and a guy called Tom Rosenthal from Friday Night Dinner and Plebs, he's on all them Channel 4 sort of comedian like shows. He was on TalkSport he was trying to get around the world in 80 favours. So he basically, the idea was that he was writing a book and he had to do a favour, and he couldn't pay for travel or accommodation, but he had to get from Heathrow round the world and back to Heathrow in 80 favours. And he was there saying, you know, I've got this leaving party today at Heathrow, and I need to get from Soho to Heathrow, and I need someone to give me a lift or whatever. So I thought, do you know what, I'm going to call him. I'll see if he can promote my business for me. Called up the number, and I spoke to him on the phone, and he was like, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is the type of thing I want, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Why don't you actually come to my leaving party and bring some products with you and promote your brand?" And I was like, "Okay, great." And I said, "And all I want in return is I want you to put it on your social media." And he was like, yeah, that's fine. Anyway, went down there, and as I was like, you know, talking to myself into going, I was a bit like, should I go, should I not go? Is it going to be worth it or whatever? I started to think, do you know what, I'm going to have a couple of beers. So I went to my pub. I live like 5 doors down from a pub. Had a couple of beers there, got a bit of Dutch courage, and then I went to this event, and there was all these famous like comedians there. There was like, you know, people all from Channel 4 there. But the two people, what I didn't realise is that his dad is Jim Rosenthal, the old football commentator, and his best friend is Kelvin Thomas, who's the owner of Northampton Town Football Club. And I took my product with me, and Kelvin Thomas had a few beers, and he was like, "Really want to buy a brand off you," like, you know, we had sort of drunk conversation. But over the next 3 or 4 months, that conversation kept coming up, and me and him kept talking. And he actually lives in America, although he owns Northampton Town Football Club. He lives in America, and he said to me, "I basically want to buy half your business off you and run it in the US for the college students, because it would be great for like tailgate parties, all of that kind of stuff." Anyway, we couldn't make the deal work, but as that conversation was going up, he was inviting me to, like, I went to Northampton Town's first home game of the season. I went in his director's box, and then eventually I went to the last game of the season where they played Tranmere away, and I went up there and saw that game where they got promoted and stuff. And anyway, the conversation kept evolving to the point where he was like, "You need to sell this product to football fans," because I'd worked with PDC Darts, I worked with Leicester Tigers, I'd worked with the Gallagher Premiership Final, I worked with Estrella Strongbow, loads of massive brands. But with the legislation in the UK, you can't drink in view of the pitch. So I'd go and speak to Spurs, I'd go and speak to Arsenal, all these clubs, and they'd say, it's great, we love it because we can brand it up, but we want to get people in the seats quicker. So it goes against everything we're trying to do. So I said to him, I was like, look, I've had the conversation. He said, what you need is proof of concept. So he said, why don't you put a festival on at Northampton Town? I'll give you the stadium for free. You can sell to our fans, and like the fans can come in and buy tickets, whatever, and buy your products there. And then you've got the proof of concept. Say, look, we sold to X amount of Northampton fans, and you can go and use that to get a gateway into other clubs. And when I started looking at festivals, I mean, I was working full time at the time still, and I still had this on the side. And I said to him, I called him one day, I said, look, I've got 6 weeks to plan a festival, and every person that would be big enough to sell tickets is pretty much busy that day because they're doing the festival tour. And I was like, I need a year to plan it. I said, I can't do it in 6 weeks. And he said, all right, fair enough. He goes, well, let's do it next year. And he said, instead of, you've still got the pitch. Then nothing could go on that pitch now because it's, because like nothing could be planned in 6 weeks.
It's booked,
he said,
yeah.
And he was like, why don't you do something on it? And previously I used to run a Sunday morning football team in Northampton as well, where I went to college. And I called up a few of the old lads that, when you get to my age, you never get to see them. You get to see them like at weddings and, christenings and stuff and everything. And I called them all up and I said, look, I've got this stadium booked. I said, why don't we all just go and play football there, get the team together and put a match on, and started to push tickets out there. And it was like our parents were coming to watch us, and there was about 40 people in the crowd, and I was a bit like, yeah, this is going to be a bit of a disaster. And plus I didn't want to embarrass myself to this guy that was quite a good person that opened doors for me. And I started contacting a few people on social media being like, look, nothing in it, raise money for charity, no one's getting paid, it's just a laugh, come down and see what it's like. And then Kelvin sort of got wind of this through Northampton and were like, oh, Jack's running a charity football match. And he called me and was like, don't waste your time. He said, for you to break even and cover the cost of because I still have to pay for the staff and everything to put the event on. He said, for you to do that, you have to basically sell 400 tickets. And I was on like 50 tickets and I was thinking, I'm never going to get that. Started to get some names in and stuff and contacted a few people, and everyone just said, yeah, well, I'll bring this person, this will happen, blah, 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 and all this. And it got to the point that I basically sold the 400. I'd done that, and then I was actually on my stag do, and I was like, did look at the ticket sales for a little bit because it was like just trickling in, and I turned all the notifications off because I was still working and stuff and everything. And I was on my stag do, and I was quite drunk at this time, and I remember looking there thinking, bloody hell, we sold 3,000 tickets, and we and our allocation was 4,500. In that first game, we sold 4,500. But but the thing that was really interesting was that festival business that I did have at the time, and I was still sort of running it on the side. We used to get tagged in loads of photos because people would tag us in like, oh, here I am at this festival here with my beer lanyard kind of thing, and when I look back after that period, the people that were tagging us in it went from like obviously being 100% festival photos to being 80% football and then 20% like festival photos. And I was like, this could be the thing that I'm going to change into. That's going to change from me selling festival products to building like a football club. So I contacted all the players that came on the day. And I just said to them, like, thanks for coming. Like, I was going to do it anyway. And I said, thanks for coming. Like, appreciate it. And they all said, when's the next one? I said, well, there isn't a next one. That was it. That was a one-time thing. But then the fans that came to it started emailing saying, can I book for the next event? And I was going, there isn't a next event. There's nothing there. And then when I started opening up social media for that old previous business, people were contacting me being like, can we book you for a game? And I was like, there's not a team. This isn't a thing. Like, this is me and my mates. Do you know what I mean? So I sort of just put it out there. I left it for 2 or 3 months and I thought, let me see what I can do with it and how I want it to happen. And then we went back, I think that was in June 2 years ago. And then in October, November, December, we had a match each month. And it just kept growing from there. People just kept saying, look, I'll come back and I want to do it. And the ticket sales kept coming in and everything. And I didn't want it to be a business that we profit from, but I wanted it to be a charity football team where we can help other people by doing something we love. And it's gone from me and my mates playing down the park to us playing with like people that played in the Champions League and people that have played international football and stuff. So it's crazy how it's grown, but It's that's the story. Is it all just sort of fell into place, and then one day it happened like that.
So what stadiums have you played at? Have you played at different stadiums like across the UK?
Yeah, so we do two silent matches. So because that core sort of like what we did at Northampton is probably where we get the biggest attendance and we get the more control over the event as well, so we can do what we kind of want with it. Whereas the smaller events where we go to, I don't know, like Brentwood Town for example, we're invited as the away fans, so we're away team, so we just turn up at that event. So we don't really get involved in that sort of setting it up, but we still get probably get like 1,000, 2,000 people turn up in the smaller events. But the ones that we organise, we basically have a window where the season finishes and the club say you can do what you want on it because we're not bothered about the state of the pitch or anything. So if you want to come and play through these windows. So we played at Northampton, played at Southampton. Actually, we played at Northampton twice, sorry. Played at Southampton. This year we're doing MK Dons, we're doing Walsall next month. We're probably going to do a couple other ones as well, which we're in talks with as well. But ever since that first game as well, like the clubs come to us as well. Like I know we spoke earlier about my LinkedIn when we first jumped on this call, but my LinkedIn, like I get people like Leeds contacted us the other week and Reading contacted us, So I often find that my time is going around and seeing the venues and stuff and seeing how it'd work and logistically how we'd set it up as well. So it's definitely going to the point where, we're talking about Southampton. We played there when it was a Premier League team, and I set myself a target to do that within like 5 years of running it. And we did it in our first year, so it just shows the potential that it could go to, and where we could kind of grow it to as well. So the stadiums I think they're the ones that everyone enjoys the most because people get behind it. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take it away from having, we obviously to get the likes of. If we got Rooney who called us and said, "Oh, playing this game, he's got to come and play because he's a big name, he's a big ticket seller." But I want to try and step away from it being like a 1 year. Well, it's never been that, but step away from like the celebrity side of things, where it's like a bit of like you get people from EastEnders and Coronation Street and stuff. We've never really been that, but what I want it to be is a bit more like SE Dons, a bit like #United, where people get to know the players and understand the people behind the camera. That's where I think that because I've met all these people and. The reason why it works with the ones that play for us isn't because of part of it is because their ability. They played at a high level and they fit into the team, but also because they're a good person. They want to do something good, but they also fit into the mould that we're trying to build as well. And I think that people would connect with us more if they understood who I am, who Harvey is behind the camera and stuff, because everyone, they see them on social media, but they don't know who these people are behind the screen. And that's what we're trying to build now and take it to that next kind of level.
Mate, wicked. In that first game that you had, were there certain individuals that got involved that really helped with the ticket sales? Was there?
Yes and no, there was. So what we did was, the first steps that we did was when I got my mates together and there was like, I don't know, 8 of us that sort of came back together. We were like, oh yeah, like let's try and do this match and everything. And it sounds stupid, but I couldn't find enough people that I used to go to school with to play at Northampton, and I thought, if someone called me, I'd be travelling halfway across the country to go and do it, But I found it really, really difficult to try and get anyone, not just and it was easier to recruit the ex-pros than it was to recruit my friends, which is strange. So what I did was, I'm a Spurs fan, and I used to go to the games, and I bumped into Sandro and Dawson and a couple of the other legends that were there that do all the club ambassadorship, and I was speaking to all of them and I was like, I've got this thing talking to them saying it's quite hard, can't get my friends there, and one of them said to me, if you speak to this person, there's a legends team that we run, we're all quite old, but we can sort of get a team together and come and play you. So I went on that idea and I thought, look, what a great opportunity for me to go and play against Spurs. And when I picked out when they sent me the roster of people they were having, it was like Jermaine Defoe, Michael Dawson, all these sort of people. None of them turned up, and I was never more disappointed. And to that day, I'd plastered them all over the ticket sales and all over the programs and stuff and everything. And people understand, they know if someone's got to go to work, they've got to go to work. Like we have it now, where we have pundits or coaches, and they go, "Do you know what? I've been called in. I've got to go and do this." Which is fine, that's fair enough. But this game, I felt like they hadn't given us any sort of truth in what they were telling us. So I turned up expecting, oh my God, I'm going to play against Michael Dawson, I'm going to play with like Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, all these people, and none of them turned up, and I was like really, really gutted. So we had a lot,
especially
of
if you're a Spurs fan as well. Yeah.
I mean, they still had some good ones. We still played against like Pascal Chimbonda, Neil Sullivan was in goal. You know, it was still pretty decent from that side. But we managed to get in Ralph Little, who was quite a big one for us. So he came in and was quite into it. And then we also had, to be fair, I think we got quite a lot of like streamers in as well, which really helped us. Like people were just reaching out to us and being like, "Oh, can this person come?" And I knew that there was a guy called Pieface who played for us, and this guy, it was crazy. Like when he turned up, we had about I think like 20 odd mascots or whatever, and all 20 mascots wanted to go with Pieface, and nobody wanted to go with anybody else, and that's when I knew, okay, there's something in this side of it as well as what we're doing. So we're trying to keep it with the events that we do, where we have something for the kids to come, but also the lads and dads, like the part, both of them will have something to come to. The dads come and they go, actually, do you know what? I used to go and watch Jermaine Defoe, whoever it is, and he's actually playing it, so I want to go and watch that. You know, so that's kind of where it built from. But I think people were just excited, and that first match, everything we did was like a perfect storm. Like it was Justin Edinburgh, you know, the guy that passed away from a heart attack. So he used to be Northampton's manager, and we raised money for his son's charity, JE3 Foundation, and Justin used to play for the Spurs Legends team. So everything together was quite a nice thing. So people weren't really disappointed when these players didn't turn up, but they were like, "Oh, this is great!" Like, you know, it's a family feel. You know, I think we raised that first game. We raised 10 grand for JE3 Foundation, which is just
is that the most you've ever raised?
In one match, yeah, that's the most we've ever raised. The Southampton match was, I think we would have raised more money, but Southampton, the cost, because it was a Premier League club, were a lot higher. And they were very, very worried about there being a pitch invasion, because we had quite a lot of streamers and YouTubers there. There was a pitch invasion as well. We had 6,000 people on the pitch, which was crazy. But they had the staffing to basically try and police that a little bit more as well. But yeah, it's just been amazing, this whole experience.
Mate, it's wicked. I mean, I'm a Spurs fan as well, for my sins. But hearing you say something like that is pretty cool. And from a football fan's perspective, I think when I was little, all I wanted to do was play football. I was never technically good enough to make it, but that's kind of like the dream, right? To be a professional footballer, and then you have the opportunity to play with some of these people that you watched on television all those years ago. It's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get the imposter syndrome, not so much when I play football with them. I know it sounds weird, but more so when like I go for a beer with them afterwards and stuff, and you know, like one of them will ring me and say, "Oh, you know, what about this? Can we do this or whatever? Or do you want to go for dinner and stuff?" Like, I think it's more the fact that they're my mates that I find it a little bit more, oh my God, this is surreal, rather than me playing football with them. Mainly so because as the team's grown, it's not. I just fill in when there's a space. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't really. No one pays to come watch me play football. They want to watch all these other people play. So, you know, if we've only got 11 players, I'll go on the bench, or if we've got 10 players, I'll play. But if we've got 15, 16 players, I'm happy just not doing anything and just organising the stuff around it. So I get my sort of kick from it, I suppose, when they're like, you know, I've become mates with some of these guys, and you know, we get to do some really cool things with them. And you know, my daughter's christening a couple of weeks ago, a few of the lads from the team come to that as well. You know, it just shows that we're building something proper, and it's a nice sort of family feel to it as well.
And it must be good for those players that are out of the game, where they've got something they can go along, and they can kick a ball around, and I'm sure they missed that, right? That was most of their career, was training in the week and then playing on the weekend. So for them, they love that opportunity to play. I've got a list here of some of the names: Aaron McLean, Leroy Lita, Henry Lansbury, Adrian Mariappa, Graham Dorrans, Jack Colback. I know there's many more, but some big names, right? As you say, played in Premier League. Some of these players: Arsenal, Newcastle, West Brom, Reading, some top teams. So you've absolutely smashed it. Getting convincing these people to come down and play football with you is not easy. So fair play to you.
Yeah, no, I think it's I think I under no illusion that I still think there's more to go. The lads that play all, like you said, they all miss that. I wouldn't say they miss training. I think that's why they like what we do, where they turn up and they don't really have to get out of second gear with some of the games we play. They turn up and they get the enjoyment out of it as well. You can see the WhatsApp group I'd never show to anyone, but in the WhatsApp group after the matches, the conversation that we have and the feeling everyone gets from it, from the match and the buzz and stuff, it is like playing a Premier League match. People love it, and it sounds stupid because you're playing in front of 60,000 people, and some of them played at Wembley and stuff, and things like that. But playing at Brentwood in front of 1,000 people, I never thought and that's that's probably part of it as well. When you ask them to play, they might go, do you know what, I can't be asked. And I just say to them, just come and try it. If you don't enjoy it, that's fine. I won't contact you again. That's just be honest with me. But I guarantee if you come, you will like it and you will want to come back. And 9 times out of 10 they do.
Are there a few of them that have still got it? Like when they play, he's must have.
I think pretty much all of them, to be fair, like they didn't get to that sort of level without being that good. I think our sort of, we played with some players like Dean Windass, who's like 50 odd years of age, you know what I mean? And the first game we played up in Hull, and he he nutmegged 2 players, and then honestly from about 40 yards out just smashed it in top bins. And he just turned to me and said, I'm done now. He was like,
that's his little run.
Yeah, that's a little bit done. And he stayed on the pitch. He still scored 3 goals, but he was very much like, you could see his class was still there. So all of them, they can still do a bit, and they can still, we had I think probably one of the, I wouldn't say better because they're all very, very good, but we had one of our better stories, I'd say, is we had Jordan Ibe with us, who obviously Liverpool and Bournemouth as well. He's still playing, he's still a professional football player, but I reached out to him and I just said to him, I was like, look, I don't know what's going on with you. Obviously see a lot on social media about you, seen it all on Sky Sports News, seen all this kind of stuff, but do you want to come and get involved if you can't find a club? Like, let's keep your fitness up and stuff. And he turned up, and the first time he turned up, you can tell there was something going on. I can't really describe it because doesn't drink, wasn't into gambling, didn't do drugs because he obviously wouldn't be able to play football anymore or anything like that. But, there was something not quite confident about himself. As a footballer, you never really see that. And he turned up and, obviously I'm walking about talking to people, talking to the rest, talking to the sponsors, getting everything organised for the match. And bearing in mind, everyone around him was his kind of people. They were ex-professional football players. He couldn't sit in the changing rooms with all of them. He had to be by my side. Like, he was like, I just don't feel comfortable sitting on my own without people I don't know. And followed us around and stuff. And anyway, as time went on, he became a little bit more confident. He got his confidence back. He got his love for football back. And now he's off to, I can't remember where he is now. I think he's gone to Moscow, I think it is, somewhere up there. But he's playing in a team that's close to qualifying for the Champions League. And he got that back from playing for us. I think he only played 6 or 7 games, but all the other clubs around him, we was literally, when I said to him, we'll get you in, and he was like, I remember driving to, I think it was the same goal Dean Windass, same game Dean Windass played for us. I was driving him to Hull, and he said to me, what are you doing this for? And I said, look, selfishly I'm doing it because there might be a story in it that I can tell. But I said also because you're a good football player, you're an amazing talent, and it shouldn't be wasted. So if I can help you get back into a team, then I know I've done something good something good for the team. And I was like, my measure of success is how quickly you're not going to be in this team. I know that sounds stupid because I'd love you to be in this team for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but I need to get you out of this club as soon as possible so you can go and play somewhere else. And then Derek Asamoah, who played for us, was an agent, spoke to a club abroad, managed to get him over there, and he signed and he's playing over there now. So he's back in professional football.
Yeah. Mate, that's a great story.
It's brilliant.
That's a really good story. Yeah. And it must feel good for you, right?
Yeah, it's nice. I think the thing that I found frustrating from it was everyone picked up these stories, and there's this thing called Ballers League now, like the 6-a-side thing on a Monday night. And they were like, Jordan and I have gone from Ballers League to that, and I keep seeing all these stories, like Sky Sports presented it, TNT's presented it, and I've just been going on the Interlegends page, commenting everyone saying, via Interlegends, he played for us, blah, 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 But the truth of the story is Baller League dropped him because they just didn't want him in the team, and he just didn't play for him. And I know that because I spoke to him, and then when he came to us, we were like, look, we're not going to do that. We had a few things with him where, confidence has gone and all this kind of stuff, but we just said, look, just keep coming back. We're not going to give up on you. And then he made it from that.
Wow. Isn't there, I've seen online that Stephen Ireland and some of the other ex-pros have got a team going as well. You know about that, right?
Yeah. So
is that ever on the cards? Having like a bit of a game against those, maybe at some point?
So Stevie is actually a very good friend. So he actually helped me out quite a lot in the beginning. So I know Stevie for a friend who I went to school with called Harry Forrester, who played for Rangers and played for Villa. And I reached out to Harry. He now lives in Los Angeles. And I said to Harry, like, he's seen some stuff and he goes, look, I think it's cool what you're doing. And I said to him, look, can you put me in contact with any players? And I sent him a list, and Stevie Ireland was quite high on that list because he keeps himself in good shape, good football player. As we were growing, we started to do a bit more north of Watford, and he obviously lives in Manchester. And I said to him, I was like, look, can you put me in touch with him? And Stevie was a bit hesitant, oh, I'm not really sure, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, look, we're doing this tournament. Why don't you come down and do this tournament? And he came down and did that. And he's done a few things with us. He played for us a couple of times, and I think he's going to play for us again in the summer. But I think what he's doing over there is basically, when I first contacted Stevie, he said to me, he goes, oh, look, there's a group of us that play Antonio Valencia, Drinkwater, all of these boys, and they've been playing every Tuesday night for about 5 years. They play every Tuesday, and he said to me, the standard is quality. He said, come up here, see the boys. I couldn't make it up for whatever reason, but I still stayed in contact with Stevie, and like Figueroa was playing and all these boys and everything, and he just said to me, he goes, this team just approached him and just said, look, let's start a vets team. And I think now they're absolutely smashing it. So we've spoke to him a few times. I also returned the favour as well when Stevie started that team up. The bloke who manages that team, so Stevie just sorts all the players out, but there's a manager that like sort of runs the behind the scenes stuff. They didn't have an Instagram or anything. I didn't have a Facebook. So Stevie said to me, look, this guy's we're doing this. Can you speak to him about the social media side of things? And I said, yeah, look, no worries. So there potentially will be something. I think the difficulty is that them boys are up there, we're down here in our middle ground. There was actually meant to be a game last year that got cancelled. I can't remember why it got cancelled for, but we were meant to do a game in Birmingham last year. But Stevie and his mates, they religiously over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years have played in a tournament called TST around the time when we can get in stadiums. So it just happens to be that they're in season, and then their off season they go to America, and ours we go into stadiums. So every time he's like, oh, you got this weekend free? I'm like, yeah, I have, but I'm in stadium next day. I can't really do anything. And I'm like, what about this week? He goes, oh, we fly to America the next day and whatever. So they're busy and we're busy. But eventually we will have it on, because there's a couple of times where he'll see one of our scores on Instagram and he'll text me saying, oh, we still beat you 22-0, and when they win, I think like he's winning finals 9-1, and I text him saying, that's not a final. Come on, come play a proper team. And we've started to get a few of their fans and a few of our fans to start commenting on each other's stuff, saying like, you guys need to meet up and play this game and whatever, because I think it'd be interesting. And I think it'll be sort of like a south versus north border kind of game, which would be interesting in itself, because
it'll be pretty cool. If there's someone that can help make it happen, that'll be brilliant. Because they've got like Ireland, Figueroa, Drinkwater, Albrighton playing there. Oh wow, I didn't even know that. You said Valencia, Papi Cisse as well.
Cisse.
I mean, what a player he was.
Yeah.
There's Umar Niasse. I don't know if he was involved as well.
Yeah, he's there.
Some top players. It's pretty cool.
So that team, before this Wivenshaw team came about, we did a tournament up in, I think it was in Tamworth. We did our first sort of, I always wanted to do like a tournament where someone would win like a prize money and stuff, and I couldn't really get a sponsorship for it because we were still very early doors. So I think we played our first game in the June, and then I did this tournament in February. So still trying to get people in. Basically, I wanted to use it as a recruitment tool to say, who's good at football, pick you come into my team, you come into my team, sort of thing. And we put this this team together, and Stevie brought all his boys down, basically everyone you just mentioned. We had a Leicester five-a-side team there, which was Drinkwater, Albrighton, I think Conrad Logan was in goal, and a couple of other lads played for that. I think Lloyd Dyer was part of their team, whatever, so that was pretty stacked. they had a Blackburn team which had Paul Gallagher, Matt Derbyshire, a few others in it as well. And then we had a City team which had Julian Lescott, Stephen Ireland. They had Umar in their team as well, even though he never played for City, but they just roped him in. I can't remember who else they had, but they had a stacked squad. And it was like, it was ridiculous. Like, it was just, the quality was unreal. Like, and you think about what people used to watch in terms of like Masters. I remember watching Masters football, and they would all be like really old people, like sort of walking on that sort of crap ground. Whereas what we built was a tournament that was like so competitive. It was so fast paced, and everyone was there, and it was like on 4G. It was amazing. It was so good to see that and be part of it. Our team got zipped in that, and we never really lose any games. But I think because everyone was recently retired and they were still all zipping it about. I think James Chester turned up. Do you remember him? Like, you know, it was just it was crazy. Like, so the standard was just a joke. Troy Deeney was there. Loads of boys were there. It was quality.
I've seen interviews previously about Stephen Ireland because when he was at Man City, and this is when they had like Robinho, Elano, and I think they just started getting some of their money. But people say like how good he was. His dribbling, his touch, top player.
He's honestly
underrated.
Yeah, he is, and you know, funny enough, my neighbour who I sometimes go to the pub with, he's a big City fan, and his dad's like a City season ticket, and he's only moved into in the house opposite me for about, I think it's been like a couple of months, maybe like 4 or 5 months or something. And when I first met him, I started telling him about like what I do with the team and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, that's sick," and I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh, do you have any City players?" And I started talking about Stevie Ireland and stuff, and we were down the pub having a few Guinnesses, and I said, "Look, let's FaceTime him." So we FaceTimed him, and he just got a tooth out from the dentist. I think he had a wisdom tooth or something. And he's like FaceTime me. He's like obviously like in pain, still drinking Guinness in the pub and stuff. And I was speaking to him, my neighbour afterwards, and I said, by far he is like still. He I don't know how he's still not playing like professional football. Like, I know he's still doing his Wivenshaw stuff, but he could be playing for a League Two club and easily be their best player by far. Like, it's just a joke, the levels.
Yeah, I remember there was one. Wes Houlihan, he went down the leagues. He was at Norwich, but he went down, but he was just so good. He was only small. Yeah. He was top player. And who else has done that? I think, is it Ollie Norwood? He's gone to a few different teams and he's still like smashing it. Mate, this is brilliant. For anyone that doesn't know anything, have you got any of the socials that you can share so people can search it up?
Yeah, our website is interlegendsfc.com. We've got all our fixtures on there, got some player profiles, any tickets for any upcoming matches we've got on there. We also put our latest news on there, and you can buy merchandise and whatever. And then our main channel is probably Instagram, which is at interlegendsfc, and then TikTok as well, which is at interlegendsfc.
Wicked, thanks, Jack. We'll do a couple of other things before we finish. I first of all want to ask you about Tottenham. So we're both Tottenham fans.
Yeah.
The Zerbi's come in. What's your thoughts? Do you think we're going to stay up? Yeah, where's your head at?
I think he's the right manager, but I think we left it too late. I think we messed about a little bit of Igor Tudor, and I think we probably should have got him before Igor Tudor gave a bit more time to have a bit more of a run in. I think now it's so difficult to sort of get them players back up and running and motivated as well. So I don't know. I think in the situation we were in, I'd have probably gone for someone who knows the club, a bit more like Harry Redknapp, or someone who comes in who's a little bit more old school. You know, you see, like, going back to Interlegends a little bit, but we had Ian Holloway come and be our guest manager once, and I can't explain it, but the way he spoke in that charity match, I was like, if I was in a relegation battle, I'd want you to be in that with me, because he wasn't so much about the tactics. It was more inspirational. It was more put your arm around the player. And we're in a charity match, you know what I mean? And he was like that. So I think the people like Sam Allardyce, like Harry Redknapp, Ian Holloway, you know, even Roy Hodgson, for example, like he's gone back to Bristol City and like doing bits there. You know, they've won 2 games on the bounce. I think they understand the player and they talk to the player as an individual rather than as a team, and not go in and they probably do give a bit of hairdryer treatment, but they also pick people up when they're down and stuff as well. Whereas I think De Zerbi's going to be a little bit more hairdryer treatment and be a bit more like, right, how do I squeeze these players, when they probably are giving everything. I know it don't seem like it, but they probably are giving everything to be in this situation. So I don't know. Is the honest answer. I don't know if we will go down. I think I used to see the funny side to it when we were getting absolutely, rollups. I was going, oh god, here we go again. But now I am very, very worried about where we're going to end up, because at the start when we were like fourth from bottom, and even last season when we were 17th, the teams around us were so poor that it was never going to be a reality. But now suddenly West Ham have started playing for it, because they want to get us down, they want to survive. Wolves have started picking up a few points, so I feel like, and Leeds, started turning it around as well. We're the only team that haven't had that turn of fortune round. I think the one thing that's going into Zerbi's favour is that he's come in when there's been an international break, and we probably will have a lot more squad depth to come in. But you look at the players, and they shouldn't be in the bottom 4, 5, 6 positions with the players they've got. But you look at the players, and they're nowhere near the quality that needs to be at our club, which is minimum top 6 team. We need to have the players that can continuously fight for that badge and do that, and we just haven't got it. So it's going to be difficult, but I think I've kind of lost the optimism with the amount of managers we've had, and being excited and thinking, oh, this is great. I think when Igor Tudor came in, I was a bit like, what on earth's going on? They've run out of ideas, and I think the problem with Spurs at this moment in time is that it's run like a business, and you can see it's run like a business. I think the owners probably aren't really that bothered if we go down, because it means they can have more concerts there and other sports there, and they can probably get a payday from all these other events there. Even you go to the mega store now, and they sell F1 stuff, they sell rugby stuff, they sell NFL stuff, and it's just crazy. Like, they're just not really bothered about what happens to the club. Funny enough, I was reading something before this call on my way home from work, and the Spurs Facebook group said this is the summary from the accounts that they've posted at the year end, and the summary is that revenue's down, but directors' wages are up 5%. Daniel Levy got a payout of 5.7 million, but we've lost 50 million from that. So out of that 50 million we lost in terms of revenue, we've spent an extra 12 million on directors' wages, which is just crazy. But in my job, if I was doing a bad job and I was fighting relegation, the last thing I'd be doing is getting a pay
You're not
rise.
getting a bonus.
I'd be getting, right, okay, sort this out, or you got to find a new job, kind of thing. So I think it's difficult, but I think we are too big of a club to go down. But we've got to have the right sort of players there. I think injuries haven't helped and stuff, but I just don't know.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I think the decisions that have been made at the top, I think Thomas Frank, with all due respect, I think he maybe should have gone a bit earlier. And then the Tudor appointment, I agree. I don't like the way that he dealt with the Kinski incident.
No.
I think that was the point where I was like, he probably isn't the right fit for the club. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think we're too big to go down. I think it's a real reality. It could happen. But we'll see, mate. So we'll move into the last section. So on our app, so we've recently developed an app, and we're launching it this year. We are launching a World Cup game. So what I wanted to ask you, we'll see how you get on, is if you can name us your England starting 11.
Yeah, I think it's...
What formation are you going with at the start?
I'd probably go... Well, I think there's certain positions that already pick themselves. So I think the goalkeeper is pretty nailed on. I think it's got to be Jordan Pickford. My back three, I'd probably go for Reece James, Mark Gahey and John Stones. And then I probably actually would put a left back in there as well. I'll probably go Lewis Hall or Nico O'Reilly. Maybe Nico O'Reilly, actually.
Solid.
My midfield, I think Declan Rice is probably first name on the sheet from the midfield perspective, and I think he doesn't play very well with Bellingham in there. So I'd probably go... I think Bellingham needs the freedom to play further forward, so I think I'd probably put Elliot Anderson in there. And then Jude Bellingham, and then my two out wide would probably be Phil Foden and either Morgan Rogers or Marcus Rashford. I think Marcus Rashford's having a great season at Barcelona, but I think that he probably won't. He'll probably go Morgan Rogers on the basis that he's obviously playing for a Spanish club, which seems to sometimes get overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? He's doing well.
And then my forwards, I'd probably go with, how many's that I've picked? I picked four, and I've got two left. I'd probably go with Harry Kane up front, and then the other one, I think you've probably got to put Cole Palmer in there as well.
Yeah, it's not a bad side, is it, mate? It's full of talent, but I think it's the same problems that we have in that sort of attacking three, like who they're going to pick. There was even talk that Foden might not even make the squad, which is just crazy.
I think that's too much. I think Foden's got to make the squad. I don't know if he starts based on his season at City's been a bit hit and miss, but I think the biggest problem for England is if Harry Kane gets injured, then there's no one who can lead the line. Harry Kane probably scores 80% of England's goals, 85% of England goals. If he gets injured, there's no one to replace that in that team. You look at what he's done in these sort of like warm-up matches, and he's not played Kane. He's put Ollie Watkins there. He's put Dominic Solanke there, and neither of them been firing, and they've not been firing really for club as well. So it's difficult. So I think injuries play a massive part to it. Harry Kane, fortunately, hardly ever seems to be injured. So I think we should be all right, but I don't know if we've even got the quality to win the whole thing, to be honest.
Who do you think will win it?
I think France are probably favourites. I think their squad is, it's kind of like when Real Madrid had them Galacticos. It seems to be they're building that from their country, which is just nuts. Their attacking presence is just unbelievable. So I'll probably go France. I think teams in a World Cup, teams that have had experience of that World Cup, are usually quite good. So like your Spains, your Brazils are always coming out of the woodworks, and they've got that experience to usher teams out. Germany have been terrible the last few years, and I think France is probably theirs to lose. Yeah,
they're attacking like their wingers. They've also got Mbappe. Yeah, there's so much talent. Well, Jack, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been great chatting to you. Pleasure, I just want to say to everyone, if you can, check out Interlegends FC. They've got tickets you can buy. Is it mainly in the south at the moment, Jack?
No, it's not actually. We are all over. So we travel to Cornwall this year. We're at Walsall for our next game. So we're up there at their stadium. We've got a match at MK Dons next month. And then we're at Hull. We've got 2 matches in Wales as well. So we pretty much travel all over. Yeah, we're all over.
Nice one. Guys, check out the website, buy some tickets. And Jack, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. See you later.